So what we want to do is be ready to accelerate when the economy begins to grow. What does this mean to your trucking company? Well, let's look at a list of takeaway strategies that will help you take advantage of an improving economy, but doesn't put your company at peril during any potential downturns in this bouncing ball recovery we seem to be going through. One of the first things that I want to look at is we don't want to follow the crowd. All right, select a niche that gives you an edge over your competition in building your foundation for the ensuing upswing. You need to rethink your operation and where and how and with which companies you do business. First, you need a lane or an area of the country to satisfy the where. Second, a specific type of hauling, specialized equipment, or special services to satisfy the how. And third, careful selection of your shippers and brokers determines your business partners. Let me read a letter from a client who has done exactly what I've prescribed here, and they called it carving a new niche. To be successful in trucking, you must be good at a job not many others like to do. In July 2009, Ashton Express made the change from the expedited field to the dry bulk hauling industry. Expedited is a specialized hauling niche that caters primarily to the auto truck manufacturing industry. But with the weak economy comes slow auto truck sales and very slow market for the expedited. The bulk hauling industry seems to stay steady. All manufacturing begins with raw materials, usually in bulk, not just mechanical manufacturing, but food products and feeds, and items needed for everyday living, power, fuel, water, water filtration, and even waste. People still eat and produce waste in a slow economy. The bulk trailer we pull is a specialized unit that can haul most bulk products. A coal chute or a metering gate can let the product flow at a controlled rate into a hopper or into a belt conveyor to a storage area. The tailgate itself is a dual opening unit that can operate as a normal end dump, or it can swing all the way open and out of the way for dumping large bulk materials such as scrap metals. Also, with the gate swung out of the way, the trailer can be back to a loading dock and palletized freight can be loaded into the trailer by a forklift. With all these capabilities, we feel that this will give us the edge we need to stay in business and profitable. And they learned these ideas from the Truckers U and Tim and myself and working with me in the trucking business community. And actually, they didn't learn them. What they did was they picked up on this information and moved forward from what they learned. A vision and a step-by-step approach. You need to have a vision of the future and how you'll reach each step to the top. This is known in the business world as a strategic plan. In order to get this plan to function correctly, you need information to determine if your vision is realistic and plausible. Here are the steps and resources to assist you in putting this plan together. Estimate market demand for the product or commodity you'll be hauling. Define your customer group. Who would be contracting for your hauling services? Define geographical area. What will you be hauling? What will be your hauling area boundaries? Again, what will be your hauling area boundaries? Define marketing environment. What forces affect your load availability? Is it weather? Is it roads? Is it market seasons, etc.? And again, we'll give you additional resources to use in answering these questions, and we'll provide them at the end of the presentation. But as we go on, let's talk a little bit about estimate market and the things that I've talked about here. So first thing that we want to do is talk about estimate the demand for your markets, for your company's services. One method is to utilize the tools which are available at DAT, Hot States, on TruckersEdge.net. Most truckers will use this information to decide if they want to take an offered load to a particular state. While that is a very good use of this tool, it can also be used over time to look at available load-to-truck trends in certain areas. This means you can be proactive in your lane and load selection. based on the areas and times with the greatest revenue potential. To ensure this will work, you need additional information concerning the hauling rates being paid from your selected area. And so we move to the next tool. All right? And this information comes from other resources like TransCore's Rate Index Pro, which will display the hauling rates from the areas which have the greatest amount of available freight within the lane you've selected. But just because there's a lot of loads out of or into an area doesn't mean these loads will meet your revenue needs. Because the next thing that we need to do is we've checked the inbound rate history for your selected lane. Then what we need to do is compare this to available outbound rates from your selected lane or area. Finally, compare the combined rates to your break-even point to determine if this lane or area works within your cost parameters. From this information, you start to draw a picture of the direction your company truly needs to travel. The other thing that I think is really important to look at as we're talking about this is customers are the core of your business. They are the shippers, the brokers, and the 3PLs. But the most important factor in defining your customer group is done with forethought and consideration of hauling capacity plus revenue in both inbound and outbound freight from each destination. Your customers must support this plan. And I'm not just saying in terms of them personally supporting the plan, but the loads and the shipments must combine together so that they make a viable means of creating revenue. So it isn't just a matter of the high-quality customers. It's also the freight that they have and that you can mix and match it together so that it works in concert with each other. To be chasing freight by taking the best paying load without considering where your next load is coming from will place you in a no-win situation. The only way you can beat the return freight low-rate problem facing the entire industry is by proactive thinking. Here's a couple of takeaway strategies on that one. Pre-plan your loads in advance. Know where your next load is before accepting or planning your current load. Don't chase loads. Have a plan and a strategy. The further out your loads are planned, the better, and the much easier it is to implement a change in plan with that kind of a situation set up. And be sure that the revenue total for the entire round meets or exceeds your break-even point. Now, not everyone experienced a downturn in the last year or so. All right? So certain segments are holding up better than others. These tend to be the ones that haul necessities like food, toilet paper, and fuel. This statement is supported by the numbers as demonstrated by these two graphs from the ATA. Dry vans had a drop of almost 30% from November 2007 through November of 2009. In the same period, refrigerated freight in general grew with only a slight drop in 2009 rather than the steep plunge seen in dry freight. Flatbed and bulk had similar drops in overall freight levels as dry vans. Now, I'm not suggesting everyone move into hauling refrigerated freight. What I'm doing is recommending that you study your section of the market to determine what is being shipped and how often, much like Ashton Express did in their move into the dry bulk hauling area. All right? We must keep in mind these numbers reflect the fact that large carriers have a much more difficult time in quickly adjusting to major market fluctuations, whereas the smaller motor carriers are much more nimble. So if you study and understand your hauling sector, you can adjust to the market in a shorter period of time, thereby getting a jump on the larger carriers.